YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with updated NFL power rankings heading into Week 10. Already at Week 10. But we update these every single week. Keep in mind they're not predictions because they're updated every week. So if a team gets hot, they'll go up. Team gets cold, they'll go down. And a little more to it than that. But we explain along the way. Follow our Twitter, constant NFL talk and talking during live games. There's a link down in the description and comments, as well as an Instagram link, podcast, Patreon. We're almost at 60K. We got full NFL coverage here. Predictions, score predictions, these power rankings, plenty more, always adding more mock drafts, off-season coverage for the NFL as well. So please subscribe. Really appreciate the support. Right before we get started with the Week 10 power rankings, we have a bunch of extra content on that Patreon. You'll find a link down below. Junior score predictions every week. My bets of the week every week for NFL and college football. Last week did pretty well with those. We were 100% on college football last week. Updated playoff predictions, bonus content, Discord access, a lot going on, and we're always adding more to it as well. But we're heading to the power rankings. The Jets find themselves at 32. They're still there. They had a shot to win the Patriots game last night, actually, Monday Night Football. They were winning most of the game. They kind of blew that in the end. You know, they get a 12 men on the field. That didn't really affect it too much because the Patriots still got a field goal, but they actually ran more clock. And they went ahead and threw a pick, and the Patriots score again, and they go 3 and out, while they're moving the ball at will the whole game. And then, the last play to get in field goal range to attempt a long field goal, they get a 20-yard pass to Patriots, that is. Jets were in zone coverage, which was very confusing. You pretty much anything under 15 yards you're okay with, and you give up a 20-yard pass. So I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, but that was bad. That was very bad. So the Jets, they definitely deserve to be number 32 still. Worst team in football. I don't know if it's close. They look good at times yesterday. Seeing Perriman play very well and Denzel Mims playing well, but Flacco had his moments, but bad players can play good. He was a great player at one time, but bad players can definitely still play good at times. He had his good moments, but Jaguars still at 31. Jake Luton had a pretty good game. They battled the Texans. They had a shot to win it. They were pretty much down the whole game besides that first touchdown early on, but Jaguars, they're at the bottom here, but they could be a sneaky team. They've scored some points on some teams this year, but they find themselves at the bottom. The Cowboys still at 30. They had another team that had a chance to win. They had a chance to beat the Steelers, but the way the Cowboys team is right now, the way they sit, it's not a very good team. It is due to injuries, much like a lot of teams, but they've been affected big time by them, but that's just where they are. That's where they are right now, so they're at number 30, but almost could have beat that undefeated Steelers team that could have boosted them up a bit. Washington moves down, so the first mover here from last week. Washington's down 6 spots. Pretty disappointing performance. I know I'm well aware that Kyle Allen got hurt and that could have affected things, but it's still a sloppy, disappointing performance, and you have to think there's not much of a difference between Kyle Allen and Alex Smith there. Alex Smith kind of got them back in the game, but also turned the ball over a bunch, but Antonio Gibson fumble, the punt, muff punt fumble, or the fumble on the punt, they were pretty costly. Just too many turnovers, a lot of sloppy play there. Disappointing. A must-win game against the Giants. Looking at the remainder of the NFC East schedule, it was definitely up for grabs, and the records of the NFC teams, it was definitely up for grabs, and a team legitimately could win with 6 or 7 wins realistically, believe it or not. And I thought the Washington football team, they were in a pretty decent spot to do so, coming off the Cowboys win and playing the Giants. If they were going to win that game, they had a pretty decent shot to win that division, believe it or not, but disappointing game, and they fell twice to the Giants this year, so they're down 6 spots there. The Giants are up 1 spot after that win. The Giants' record could be better than it is because they played some teams close. They kind of let games slip away, but that's kind of their game. They almost let this one slip away as well. I thought they outplayed the Eagles for the most part last time they played them, but they let it slip away. Now they play them again. That could be a big game for the NFC East. It's a must-win game for the Giants. They're up 1 spot, number 28. Texans only move up 1 spot. They did beat the Jaguars, but not enough, especially looking at their resume this year, to move them up any more than that at this point. But they got a good game against the Browns this week. They can definitely move up more. Lions down 6 spots. Extremely disappointing game. I know they were missing Galladay in that game. Trey Flowers ended up being out as well. But very disappointing performance, sloppy play. You see them getting 10 men on the field in giving up a 70-yard touchdown to Dalvin Cook. That's just unacceptable, especially in Week 9. Stafford, extremely sloppy, turning the ball over in the red zone, making some really bad throws. Just all around and it's a winnable game against a division rival. The Vikings have not been good. I know they're starting to heat up now, but it's definitely a very beatable team. So it's an extremely disappointing game for the Lions. We'll see what happens with Stafford. I know he got knocked out of that game when it was pretty much over. They need him healthy. They need Galladay back, but they're down 6 spots. They were getting on a win streak, and now they're starting to go the opposite way, so it's unfortunate there. 25 is the Chargers. They're staying put at 25. Maybe they're a better team in this, but they continue to lose these games, so I can't kind of reward them for that, There was a time a few weeks ago where I was kind of making them stay put. They weren't really moving down for losing because it looks like they should win these games. Look like they're a lot better than some of these other teams, but at this point, you almost expect they are losing the games. You almost expect them to continue to lose these games, but they don't move from here. But they're still in the bottom tier of teams, which they really shouldn't be. But that's their own doing right now. Whether it's staff, players, a mixture of both, it's their own doing here. 24, the Patriots up 3. Maybe not the best win against the Jets because it's the Jets, but I don't really look at it like that. I know I can't make them go up big time because of a win like that, but that's a momentum win. Come from behind. I don't really know what the game plan was early. They were kind of, it almost felt like they were allowing to happen what was happening, and then they just came back. It just felt like they could have done that the whole time because of the much better team. They end up showing that. So you see Cam at the end of the game. I think it's a big momentum shift game. It's a great comeback, and they displayed that, even when a team like the Jets were playing pretty good, they can fight back there. So they're going to move up 3 spots. It's pretty obvious they should move ahead of some of these other teams anyways. So, and there's always people that are like, well, they beat the Jets. Why you move? Some people act like that's a loss in that way, but it's not. It's definitely not. 23, the Broncos, very inconsistent team. The score won't show it, but they got dominated by the Falcons. I know they had a shot at the end because they played very well to come back, but they got dominated in that game. No offense early. The defense couldn't stop the deep ball. There's just a couple guys trying to carry the load there. Tackling for some reason was a concern. I don't know why that was. Couldn't really get anything going, and they dug themselves a hole. They're inconsistent. It's a team that in the power rankings they're going to be around these parts unless they start to be consistent here. So they're down 5 spots after a disappointing loss. 22 is the Panthers. It's the first time ever I've had a team move up several spots that lost a game. I've had teams move up a spot, maybe 2 before, after losing. But the Panthers lost to the Chiefs. They moved up 4 spots. And it doesn't really have much to do with them. They were actually impressive on offense. They played maybe the best team in football, one of the best. Played them pretty well. But you look at the teams below them, it just felt like more of those teams had to move below them, So that's mainly why they're moving up 4 spots. I'm not really rewarding them for losing. I'm not doing that at all. If they would have got dominated in that game, it would have been very tough to allow this to happen. So I guess playing a close game, playing a decent game against a good team made this somewhat possible. But I had, looking at Washington, Detroit, Denver had to move down. Some of these other teams were already below them. There's no way those teams should be ahead of the Panthers. You honestly can debate this next one too, the Cincinnati Bengals, but at this point, I'm truly fresh off that Titans win. It was a dominant win too. I know they had a bye week last week, but they're still fresh off that win, and I truly believe this team is definitely better than their record. See, like a team like you can argue about a team like the Giants and the Chargers. They probably should have more wins, but are they better than their record? They're those teams that let games slip away. They make mistakes at the end, let teams come back. That's their identity. So I don't know if they're better than the record shows, but they should be better than what the record. They should have a better record because they blew games. I think those are 2 totally different things. I think the Bengals are both. I think they've proven to me that they should have a better record, and they are a better team than their record shows. And again, that Titans win. Coming off that, and these other teams was pretty disappointed with the Panthers before this week, and they did lose, so it's tough to move the Panthers ahead of the Bengals. Couldn't really do it, and a lot of these teams, Broncos, Lions, Washington had to move down, so that kind of helped the Bengals' case for staying put at 21. But people will probably overreact from that because of their record. But at this point, record does matter, but it's not everything because we got identities on teams, especially going into Week 10 here. The Bears are down 3 spots. Man, they started off so good, and they're really falling apart now. It's tough only moving them down 3 spots for how disappointing they are. They look like the worst offense in football, which is kind of crazy. They definitely need a lot more on that offense, but yeah, they've been extremely disappointing. They could have a bounce back game, a rival game against the Vikings on Monday night in Chicago, a game that, based on matchup, they probably usually win. But, where they're at now, what will happen in that game? But that can kind of pick them back up here. They're at number 20, down 3 spots. The Niners, pretty much same situation. And we kind of expected this to eventually happen here. And they didn't move down that many spots. So time will tell, I guess, exactly how this team with all these backups will be. But, yeah, because of all the injuries, we kind of expect this to kind of slowly happen here. But maybe they could pick it up. Last week was a short week. A lot of guys last second out on top of the guys already out. They playing a really good team, the Packers. So maybe they just need some time and some adjustments. They can be a sneaky team and win some games here. Who knows? Definitely can't doubt them for sure. But you could definitely say they're nowhere near as strong as we expect them to be. I think that goes without saying. 18's the Eagles. They didn't play, but they're up 1 spot because all these teams had to move down, and the Eagles were trending upward anyways, even though they were looking a little sloppy while doing it. Big game against the Giants is an absolute must-win game against the Giants this week, NFC East battle. It's a must win. 17's the Vikings. They went a whopping 7 spots. They're streaking a little bit. They're actually looking pretty good while doing it. They're looking more like the Vikings we expected this year, but need more. This is where I doubt them. Can they stay consistent? Consistency, that's where I doubt them a little bit. But they're looking good. But yeah, them looking good, going streaking there. And a lot of other teams having to move down all helps them move up 7 spots there. Can they stay consistent, though? That's the question with them. Big game against the Bears, 17-20 there. Similar things for the Falcons. It's weird seeing the Falcons in the top half at number 16, a team that probably should have more wins as well. But they're racking up some wins now. They've had some good wins. The Panthers, the Broncos, they beat the Vikings up not too long ago as well. They outplayed the Lions, but they lost that game. So they're trending up. It's another team. Just like the Vikings, they're pretty much in the same boat. Can I trust them to stay consistent? That's a tough part there. But they're trending in the right direction, but they got a really tough schedule going forward after this bye week. 15, the Browns, they're staying put. They had a bye week. They played the Texans this week. 14, the Rams, they had a bye week. No movement here. Big game against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Can't wait for that one, actually. Toss-up game to pick. 13, the Colts are down 5 spots. It's a tough one because they did lose to a really good team in the Ravens, but there's a lot of teams that were trending upward that had to move over them, so a combination of both forced them down 5 spots. I'm not really thrilled with them either, though, with that game because I am and I'm not. And I'm not because they stopped Lamar Jackson pretty well. They stopped the run game. Gus Edwards couldn't really do anything. Nobody really got going. The only thing that was a bright spot for the Ravens, their run defense was pretty solid. Their coverage was really good. But there wasn't much going for them. The Colts still got beat up pretty bad, 10-24, only scoring 1 touchdown early. And as soon as the Ravens adjusted, it was just done from there. So, they did good things to slow the Ravens down, but the fact that you're not really close and you only score 10 points, it's a little concerning. But they did lose to a pretty good team there at least. 12, the Raiders up 1 spot. They beat the Chargers. We kind of expect to be close. It's good to get out there with a win. They made it a little interesting, though. But yeah, they move up 1 spot. The Buccaneers down a whopping 7 spots after that extremely disappointing performance on Sunday night. It kind of felt like maybe not a must. Yeah, it kind of feels close to a must win there. It's a big game for them. But extremely disappointing. I know they lost to a pretty good team, but man, you can't play that bad and not expect to move down this many spots, especially with other teams having to climb up. There's other teams that had to move up as well. So they're down 7 spots. The Cardinals down 3 spots. Really good game against the Dolphins. That could have went either way. Cardinals, I'm still impressed with. They still have those random losses on their resume, but we're kind of getting past those. But yeah, they're a tough team to play. Still a really good team. They still remain in the top 10. They got to finish those games out there, win those games. They got a big game against the Bills this week. Excited for that one very much. The Dolphins, who just beat the Cardinals, they're inside the top 10. They are number 9, the Miami Dolphins. Look at that. Defense, very impressive. Playmaking defense. In the offense, it seems like it's getting better with all these young guys, everywhere. Pretty much offense line and quarterback with Tua. He had a great game. So they're on their way up. I don't know if any of us expected the Dolphins, especially with their schedule. Their schedule's not easy, for an AFC East team. I don't know if any of us expected them to be top 10 like this, and they are. They're playing some really good ball. It's a big-time win, statement win against the Cardinals. Tua versus Herbert this week. That's not a free one for the Dolphins. Even though it's 9 versus 25, that's going to be a pretty good game. Seahawks are down 5 spots. Disappointing loss to the Bills. Seahawks are a tough one because they had a lot of games where they just escaped, and those, they're wins at the end of the day. I'm not like punishing them for those, but of course, their resume is not looking too strong right now, is my point. It's not looking too strong. At the end of the day, they are a pretty good team. They can beat anybody. They can play with anybody. But it's a disappointing loss against the Bills. They lost 2 out of their last 3. That's a little disappointing as well. That'll result in you dropping down 5 spots there. But they're still in the top tier of teams here at number 8. 7's the Packers, up 4 spots. After a disappointing loss against the Vikings, they moved down quite a bit from that one, but then they get a win against the Niners. One we definitely expect them to win, but they did it in dominating fashion, so that'll help. Other teams losing, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Colts will definitely help push them up as well. They're at number 7. Number 6 is the Buffalo Bills. They are also up 4 spots. They've been, they had a little bit of a disappointing stretch, and they won some games, but not in the most impressive fashion. But that was a big-time game against Seattle Seahawks and a big win there. They did give up a lot of points. And things did go their way, so that's the downside of it. But it was a dominating win, impressive win. So that'll result in them going up number 6, up 4 spots. The Titans up 4 spots. The Titans, Bills, and Packers are in a similar in a similar boat there. They're in the same boat there. The Titans. Coming off that win against the Bears, they were on a little bit of a losing streak, but then get that good win against the Bears. It's a little more of a dominating performance than the score may show, so I'm impressed with them there, overcoming the good Bears defense and then overcoming the defensive struggles on their end. So they're all in the same area there. They're all in the same area. I mean, when it's that close, I think the Titans, with that dominant win over the Bills this year on the resume, that could be the difference there. So the Titans are number 5 here, back trending in the right direction. 4 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, up 2 spots. That's a good win against the Colts. A little sloppy, still a little iffy on them, because you expect them to be an elite team, and they have not been that, at times on defense. But there's still some things they got to fix there. But that's a big time win. Great performance by the defense. The offense showed up in the second half, moved the ball when they needed to. So that'll get them up 2 spots. They're up to number 4. The Saints make their way back to where they started to start the year. A dominating performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that'll definitely get them to the top 3. The top 3 is pretty clear cut. There was really no discussion with myself, with the Saints falling, but or not falling, but being outside the top 3 there. So they're at number 3, up 2 spots. Very tough to pass the top 2 though. The Chiefs keep winning, still look dominant on offense, and the Steelers remain undefeated. Steelers did have a little sketchy win there against the Cowboys, but you remain undefeated. There was no thought of moving them down. I think some people think about that. They almost consider that a loss for some reason. If they would have lost, they would have moved down quite a bit. They would move down for only a 1-loss team. The Chiefs would have been ahead of them. The Saints would have been ahead of them. Possibly, maybe not a whole bunch. That'd have been interesting, but. They win. They execute when they need to. When they need to make big plays, they make the big plays. They're undefeated. It's impossible to stay undefeated this long. Almost impossible in this league with anything. Anything could happen. So they'll remain number 1. Chiefs remain number 2. In the Saints 3. That top 3 shouldn't really be a surprise there. But looking forward to, like I mentioned throughout this video, looking forward to a lot of these games. Bills, Cardinals, even Dolphins, Chargers, Colts, Titans, Thursday Night Football, 5 versus 13. It is a huge win. Huge game. Huge win for either team when they get it. It's a big-time game. What I mentioned, the Bills, Cardinals, I mentioned the Dolphins, Chargers, the Rams, Seahawks. I cannot wait for that game as well. That's going to be good. Chris Carson's very important in that game. Let's see if he plays. I think it's a very important player to play in that game. So I'm looking forward to a lot of these. Vikings, Bears even. Can't wait for this week. Power rankings can shift with those outcomes. Once again, that's going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you can smash that like button. We got these videos every week. We got plenty of other NFL coverage and content every single week. So if you can join us for that, subscribe, turn notifications on. That is going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.